Welcome, my friends, to a world often hidden in the shadows, where ordinary people wield extraordinary talents. This, my fellow seekers of the intriguing and the underappreciated, is Deliciously Dope. In this captivating journey, we embark on an adventure unlike any other. A journey into the heart of creation. We're shedding light on those who transform the mundane into magic. These gifted individuals, often overshadowed by the noise of the modern world, are the unsung heroes of our communities. They take nothing and transform it into something that captures the essence of their souls. But it's more than just the process, my friends. Deliciously Dope is about uncovering the essence of passion, the spark that ignites their drive to create, the hurdles they overcome, and the sheer joy that keeps them going against all odds. So come with me as we peel back the layers of their artistry, the alchemy of their craft. We'll explore the how and the why, diving headfirst into the almighty question, what does it take to make something from nothing? Buckle up, my friends, as we travel the path of these remarkable individuals, learning not just about their art, but also about ourselves, our potential, our dreams, and our ability to find beauty in the overlooked. Prepare to be amazed, prepare to be inspired, and above all, prepare to witness the enchantment of the unspoken talents. The Deliciously Dope creators who remind us that the magic is often found in the hands of those who dare to create something from nothing. And this is Deliciously Dope. Stay curious, my friends. Discover the power of creativity and passion, bringing your visions to life, creating moments that resonate. Book your project today. Only at 117 Productions. A world where cannabis is more than just a plant, there's a podcast that's changing the game. Welcome to the Daily CHRONIClez. Your ultimate destination for all things cannabis. The Daily CHRONIClez, your trusted voice in the cannabis community. Tune in to the Daily CHRONIClez podcast, available on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. The Daily CHRONIClez, your trusted voice in the cannabis community. Strange Letter Coffee is more than just a place to get your caffeine fix. It's a labor of love, a temple of craftsmanship, and a testament to the spirit of Lansing. Strange Matter Coffee, where the love for coffee and community collide. right, tokers, jokers, and smokers, welcome back to another edition of the Daily CHRONIClez, y'all. Welcome back. It's been a while. It's been a minute. We've all been busy recording here, recording there, editing this. Oh my God, I've been all over the place. But finally, I get to sit down with my friend, Dr. Leslie Wyman, Ph.D. in
Cellular biology.
I see. I just couldn't remember that, y'all. That's the truth. That's such an impressive title. And Leslie, thank you for coming on the show.
It's a mouthful, I understand.
Psilocybin and cannabis at this point, what got you into it? Like, what made you think I'm going to become I'm going to get my PhD in this?
Well, it really wasn't like that. It wasn't. Okay. It didn't start off with that goal or mission in mind. It was just more like a general interest that grew into a wanting to understand this system that has been neglected in science. And so what they did in effort to study this system, or even where do you begin? Okay, you have THC, you have this plant that has a bunch of cannabinoids. It's like what, up to 120 now. I think at least 70 have been like identified and validated.
Confirmed, if you will, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there. But I think they estimate at least 120. So what are these cannabinoids? How do they act in our bodies? In order to study that, what we would do is we put it in our body, right, and see what it binds to. But since we couldn't do that because of these stringent regulations, scientists had to develop analogs, synthetic analogs that structurally look very similar to THC. But they might exhibit different psychoactive, effects based on where different chemical groups are in their structure. And when they put these in cell models, they were able to identify first the CB1 receptor. And the CB1 receptor is a GPCR.
For those of us that don't know what GPCR is.
Yeah, sorry. Let me back up. A G protein coupled receptor.
Okay.
They're signaling molecules. They kind of sit on the surface of our cells, and they relay information from outside of the cell to the inside of the cell. They're very important family of molecules, and it's a big family. And I was shocked to find that I learned this in graduate school, that the CB1 receptor is the most abundant GPCR in the brain. So that's really significant in my perspective, because it means they're proven, right? So with those synthetic analogs in the early 1990s, they were able to identify these two receptors. And now that we knew those receptors, the CB1, I should say, now we knew the CB1 receptor, okay? Very often when we hear CB1 receptor, we're thinking of just like one entity, like one receptor sitting on the surface of the cell, and they all look identical. That's not
one solo instrument.
That's not necessarily true. Like the gene has different splicing variants, and those splicing variants can be expressed in different cell types at different times. And so there might be
organized
maybe 3 different variants of the CB1 receptor. So one variant might be more dominant in your brain, and I know that another variant is more dominant like in the spleen and testes. So
let me ask you this.
Shows you like the different axes.
So is this why different strains get different people, like different levels of high? This is also why THC percentage doesn't fucking matter, by the way, people.
Yeah.
You know, because like if let's say that you and I both smoked my Blue Dream that I grew, okay, and I get, you know, pretty decently more fucked up, if you will, or more high, if you will, than you do. You're like, hey, I don't really feel it. That's very possible based off of people's genetic makeup, you know, when dealing with cannabinoids, because it's not just one, it's a melody thereof. So if your chemical makeup is different, ever so slightly, because we're all different, you know, then that organized chaos that is, you know, cannabinoids and things like that is going to respond differently to you. That's why indica and sativa are out the fucking window. You know, couch locking effects doesn't mean anything. Indica and sativa and ruderalis only matter when growing the plant. That's it. Everything else is just a marketing ploy. Fucking period. If you're not a grower and you don't plan on growing the plant, then you shouldn't worry about indica, sativa, ruderalis. You should worry about what fucking tastes good to you. What did, you know, you smoked this, you felt this way. Was that good or bad? It's not that fucking hard, but people want to overcomplicate it. However, we need to overcomplicate it because that's the science. We want to know why. We're telling people the science as to why they're fucking idiots.
Yep. I agree with everything you
I mean,
said.
that's where we have to start, because most people, if we can't educate them about that, they're not going to care about, well, any of it. Truth be told, they just want to get high. You understand? Because there's a lot of people, and I just heard this. I was just listening to another podcast. You know, shout out Michigan Bros Grow Show. And Red Setter on the show said something. He used to work at a dispensary. Okay, people didn't care about terpenes, sativa, indica, none of that. People literally will come in and be like, "What's your most expensive ounce?" or "What's your most expensive eighth?" And they think that it's immediately better because they spent, you know, the money on it. Again, that's an issue as well. You see my point? So we need to educate the consumer as to let that trickle down Reaganomically. Love that word. You know, to educate them very, very simply. So let's start there. If I'm looking at a bag of a prepackaged eighth, Leslie, in a dispensary, what's important to note? Like, what should I be looking for?
Well, every bag will have a label with it. It's required by the state to have certain information on that label, and that includes the testing information, right? So, all your cannabis should be tested by a third party laboratory. It's a little bit. Yeah, I was gonna get there. You got
you're all right. Sorry, I still
hit the punchline before.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. I know. I you know, it's so funny because I posted something recently, and I feel like I was thinking about taking it down because it sounds a bit bitter, and I don't know. After like smoking on it, thinking about it, I was like, I'm owning that bitterness. Like, fuck them, fuck Veritas. Like, they deserve all the hate. In fact, I feel like most of what is wrong with the cannabis industry in Michigan all is rooted in Veritas. Like, once you really kind of get down into it, and do you want me to talk about that a little bit?
That would be lovely.
It's so important to be able to test or like trust third party
testing labs, right?
Yeah, we need to be able to trust them and look at what like the cigarette industry. I'm a smoker, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm like I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but like the fucking tobacco industry is a bit of a joke. They get to test their own cigarettes, which is like, okay, well, you know, the pharmaceutical company kind of does that too.
They do the exact same thing.
Products. And it doesn't instill much confidence. So I was really super proud when I kind of learned that they were gonna try a different model. At the end of the day, you know, with the third party testing, and you know, you can't even have a vested interest in any other license type, at least in Michigan, is they don't want to be scientific collaborators in any way. And they just wanted to dominate the market. And that's not really the bedrock of science. Is built on collaboration and I think it's in the best interest for patients that we do share information on what is the best testing method to know potency or this cannabinoid or this terpene. They have a whole panel of things that they test where I doubt it's all 170. It's been a while since I looked into these things. But no, they're probably testing for required to test for what? CBD,
THC.
Or is it just is it just THC that's required maybe, and then all the other cannabinoids are optional? I'm not sure.
I think that the requirements come from a different angle. So I think that there are state level requirements that they can't meet or exceed certain things. But the problem is there's not really a THC cap. You know what I'm saying? There's not a CBD cap. So those are kind of unregulated because after a certain dosage is where the legality draws a line. For example, it's like 0.03% or less of THC content is considered CBD, where all the other cannabinoids are still there. Well, then what's the difference? The THC percentage in this plant, in this splice of it, this test, if you will, is more or less. And it's within that little gray area federally that you've got people selling like Delta 9, Delta 10, all this other Delta 8 shit, all these
synthetics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's less than or this and that and this and that. And then, so it's like, whatever, man. All of that shit aside, and here's the problem with the 2018 Farm Bill about to lapse. States are cracking down and trying to control. Oh yeah, it's coming up, and people are fucking trying to take advantage of it already. There's already states trying to control how to regulate. If you get caught with CBD, they can do something about it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to grow, let's say you had a CBD company, that's all you did. You just did CBD balms, shampoos, and shit like that. You've got 1,100 plants and stuff. Well, now that the 2018 Farm Bill is going to lapse, they're gonna tax the shit out of you for that. Just like they are with THC for the fucking rec and the medical industry, market. But the problem is the medical market and rec are splitting. That's the biggest issue here in Michigan. I mean, we're losing caregivers, and
they need to be merged.
I agree. But the problem is, and I wrote about this, lately. There's 3 lanes of traffic in Michigan, and now we have this massive bear hug of traffic where all these commercial vehicles are taking all over the lanes, and you're kind of screwing over patients that way, because then caregivers can't grow what they need to grow to take care of the patients. They're already outnumbered, and all of these patients are just finding it difficult, and they feel constrained because of the state and the way that corporate is, that they're just going straight to rec. They're like, why do I need to mess with this and be a part of some list if I can just buy what I need at the dispensary?
No, the only reason why they're separate right now, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's all a money grab.
100%. It's profit. Yep.
The reason why they're keeping the 2 industries separate is because they're making double licensing fees.
Exactly.
And those licensing fees are in the tens of thousands per license per year. So, of course, they're going to keep them separate. Once they merge them, they're reducing their income, their licensing.
And as soon as well, here's the thing, for those who follow the show, for people that follow activism and advocacy, doctor, you do. I've stood with you at the Capitol. I've watched you speak at the Capitol. And for those who follow the advocacy and cannabis laws here in Michigan, we knew as soon as rec kind of hit the scene, and we saw that the way that the dispensaries kind of dealt with it. You know what I'm saying? And the way that it was dealt with was this. If you have you have to have a med card. If you don't, you get handed a recreational menu. You see what I'm saying? There's 2 different menus at places, okay? At least around me. And this is a Lansing area. So when you're handed 2 different menus, you're like, well, what's the difference? And when you ask anybody at the dispensary, they're like, basically nothing. But sure, they'll tell you that the medical side is stronger. It's not. Maybe it is, but that, not enough to actually give a shit. It's not going to warrant taking an extra step of getting a caregiver, growing your,
There's no difference. Can't the medical and rec just trade weed when they need to?
That's what I was thinking.
I thought that they're allowed to whatever. Beyond that, that's the medicals that I envisioned as a scientist in early 2017. So where I was in 2017, I was 3rd year grad school, and I am a candidate now, and I am like definitely gonna finish my PhD, but you can't really see the end. It's like 2.5, 3 years away, and you're like 3 years in the thick of it. It sucks. I needed a hobby. So like we just this was 2018. It was when Prop 1 got passed, and I had just got off doing my comprehensive exams in 2017, where I got to do it like an independent study of the endocannabinoid system, basically. They for my comprehensive exams, I was able to kind of write a research proposal based on my own research interests into targeting the CB1 and CB2 receptors and neurodegeneration, trying to be protective in fact. But after that, with 2018, it was just like I heard about these testing labs, and I'm like, I'm going to do that. That sounds like exactly what I want to do. Is going to combine like my two favorite passions, like science and cannabis.
Weed, right? Exactly.
Like I've never been so I had heard about there's PSI labs and iron labs at the time. Those were like the two. There was the Spot. And so I had the opportunity to kind of like get to know these. So yeah, I got pre-qualified. I took all the right steps, spent a ton of fucking money on getting like, ready to start up a lab. I was doing all the right things, like participating in community events and getting to know. And that was like the most fun part, really, is like getting to know the people and the patients and like kind of learning the underground community and like the network of people is just an incredible base of people from all walks of life with stories for days and just a joy to party with, to be honest. Like I enjoy conversations in this. It's like, I don't know. I find comfort in it. Yeah. So they can't just, well, that's not true for all of them. And you know who you are. You're the cool one. They're watching this. They know. But anyway, what I was going to say is that's when I started to learn about fucking the testing industry. And I got invited to Virtus labs at the time. I didn't really know much about them at all. Other than they had a big, beautiful lab because they had put it on the internet for everyone to see. And it looked state of the art as shit. And I was like, that is like my dream space to work in, right? So finally I got an opportunity. They invited me out there for a tour. And I did know at the time that they were like ex-cops, but I didn't know the fucking shady ass shit that they did while while in leadership at the Michigan State Police. So let me tell you about the tour though. So I get there thinking like I'm all excited. Typically when like scientists go and tour other institutes and research places, like you're kind of like,
it's like a field trip as a kid.
Yeah, and you're expecting like, oh, we're probably going to be able to work together. They want to talk about, no, they totally brought me there to like show off their fancy instruments, and they would even let me in the lab, which mind you, I had already visited like 4 other labs in the state before them. Like, and so I've already seen labs. They are clearly willing to collaborate. They, to some degree, everyone's got to, protect the integrity of their business. But no, they wouldn't even they were the only lab of all that wouldn't let me in their lab.
I mean, and that's shady.
I drove like 3 hours to get there, and I get there and they show me their lab from a bird's eye view. They call it, I think, like the eagle's nest or something lame. Okay. Where you can like basically just feel like you're in like you're
a drug lord overlooking the workers of the fucking
there's like nobody working, and so this is like right after the recall, actually. Okay, and so
which they definitely got in trouble for, but not as bad as they should have.
okay, so the recall I feel use to their advantage. In fact, I even kind of have suspicions about the orchestration of it and like whether it was done intentionally.
I mean,
so I mean, I'm not trying to get all conspiracy theorists, and because I haven't explained everything I know about them yet, or I even should, but their plans were just to like dominate. They had hoped, and I had talked to them. They pretty much wanted a government contract. They didn't even want licensing for testing to be an option because they came from the Michigan State Police. They and the forensic science division there, like the forensic toxicology division or whatever. They retired. Okay. Should I even talk about the time there? But yes.
I mean, yes. I mean, we've gotten this far into it.
Do you have time for this? Do you know this story?
I do now. I don't know the story. So I know parts of the story.
I'm sorry, and I feel like people know it.
We're definitely going to find out. But see, I've heard all the other back end of the stuff. I wasn't inside of the fucking building. I heard about what happened in the public. I heard about how certain people and certain companies and certain, all of this. I saw the other end of the shit. You see them fallout.
Let me tell you the whole timeline. Let me start at like the beginning of the timeline. It's another thing that's difficult for me to explain because you're talking about weirdness in two different capacities here.
Okay.
So the owners of Viridis been there like for many years, and like Craig Mashab, which is the owner, the CEO, co-founder of Viridis, was the the scientific director of the forensic toxicology
lab at Michigan State Police
Department in Michigan State Police. Okay. And while he was there, this information was actually, I should say, like acquired through the Freedom of Information Act, right? FOIA. Sorry.
FOIA. It's all anyway, sorry. I watch his videos.
FOIA through attorneys. What's his face?
Michael Corman. It's Corman.
Corman. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Corman. So he secured all of this information through FOIA.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was, this was after medical was legalized, but before rec, they hadn't established any real rules.
Mm-hmm.
And things were still a bit gray area. And when medical card holding patients were getting caught with cannabis oils or wax, whatever, concentrates, distillate, whatever word you want. When they were getting found with this, prosecutors still wanted a way to like convict them for something, right?
Right.
And so, and I feel like this is pretty even like clear, like in the emails, you can like really follow like their line of thinking. It's awful. They basically couldn't get these card holding patients with anything if they're caught with these things, and that bothered them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did was they started saying that if there wasn't any evidence of plant matter in the oil, which there shouldn't be. Any
No,
good
it shouldn't be.
cart, you shouldn't see chunks of
No.
flour in your
No.
cart. That was then able to be deemed or reported in, I always want to
Prosecution.
say patients, but it's never, it's like, that's reported, like
Okay.
in your evidence, right? So, as synthetic, right? So they were able to say because there was no evidence of organic plant matter,
Correct.
then they could deem it as a synthetic cannabis. And under the gray rules and regs at the time, prosecutors were able to pursue 2-year felony convictions
That's fucked
for
up.
synthetic cannabis, but not THC, because THC had been like
Decriminalized.
for specifically for them because of the medical
Industry, right?
Yeah.
Card holding patients, right?
Yeah. So because they still wanted reasons to put these people in jail, they came up with they basically manipulated this, how science is reported. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
And which is so stupid. And what bothers me about it so much is like,
it's an obstruction of justice type of thing.
well, like our bodies don't give a fuck whether the THC is synthetic or if it's made from a plant.
We react damn near the same. Yeah. We can't tell the difference, really.
If it's the same exact molecule, the body doesn't know whether it's made in a lab or if it's made in like
biochemically, right?
Cannabinoid. That's one thing. If it is like an analog of Delta 9 THC, like then depending on what that structure looks like, they just are just going to make this over, like, it's just regulation not based on any evidence. That's what bothers me. That's shitty science. You can't just like manipulate the interpretation to like. That's why we have a thing called peer review, and this is why Spiritus doesn't want any competitors. Is because when you have peer review, you get to get called out on your bullshit, right?
Yep.
So yeah. Anyways, that's like the first thing that they did. They helped and this isn't just Greg. This is also Michelle. She was she's the only Ph.D. I think of the true Ph.D. of the three, and I was told that she's just like the worst to get as far as like as a witness or whatever. She's the one that defended their shitty ass science. Anyways,
she was paid to.
And not that much. She even admits it on the internet somewhere. Trust me, I've done my digging on these people. In fact, Greg Michaud costs our taxpaying dollars a lot of money when, with his racist practices, hiring practices in the forensic science division at the MSP. They
the politician tied to them.
Dude, so I found this after this is after they brought me to, okay, I didn't even finish the story about this tour.
Yeah, the tour.
Basically,
bird's eye view.
Yeah. They're showing me around their beautiful lab and basically saying there's no room for you. If you try to get in now, that will crush you. And they were like, they're like, CRA already told us we already capture 70% of the market, which I kind of was a little like hesitant to believe, but they did rebound really quickly. Like they told me they would after the fucking recall. After that, and so they showed me this. They tell me that there's no room for me. They scientific collaboration. What's bite my tongue and have a good time. Went out to eat with them, and like, dude, like, tried to, like, spend the evening telling me, like, what I should be doing for my career. Like, instead of cannabis testing, I should just focus on the research. He said a lot. And I'm like, dude, do you even know how research works? Like, you're wannabe fucking scientist. You are, like, not in my, like, you have not spent a lick of time in a laboratory and you're telling me, like, what I should be focusing on for my scientific career. But beyond that, he
very bluntly put.
Trying to pursue some other, like, more fucking personal relationships, and I'm just like, these are what these kind of people are. So that caused me to, like, look into them a little bit.
We call them Chads in the industry.
I found, because I don't really like to, like, talk shit and sound like I'm bitter. That is actually not my style. I prefer to, like, be a people pleaser and have, you know, kumbaya. Yeah. I'm a hippie at heart.
Haven't noticed.
Lava.
Where's my lava lamp?
So that's when I found out about the MSP thing, the first incident of MSP thing, and then the second one is how racist they are. So they were taking in, like, some new recruits for the ballistics, like, analyst kind of, like, position where you would, like, look at weapons and bullets and, like, you know, there's patterns and shit. CSI. And they had, like, I think it was like 5 recruits, and 2 of them were black and three of them were white. Don't quote me on that, but it was like that size group. But I know that 2 of them, well, there's maybe 3, but 2, no, I think it was just 2 were black. And these felt, I don't want to, like, I hate to tell someone else's story, but, like, they basically, like, went through this whole entire training with
everybody included, right?
The 3 white men were promoted, and these 2 black men were not promoted, even though their test scores were better than the white men. So, like, what? And then what actually fucking secured so it would have been, the state would have been the defendant in this case, right? So what happened was, like, Greg Michaud, like, had written a memo that kind of validated their intent was racial discrimination, and the state and these 2 black men were awarded $5 million, I believe, like, a lot of money that our state, because they're suing the MSP, paid in this racial discrimination case. And unfortunately, I feel like I continue to read on that, like, these 2 men didn't quit their positions at the MSP. They just didn't get the promotion, right?
Right.
And they were still continued to be harassed, like, after that. And, like, the fact that he is at the center of that, like, and again, a similar incident happened with him many years later. So maybe I should talk about the other MSP thing to come up. End of August of 2022, the second MSP corruption scandal was basically admitted by them, which is weird, right? So basically, the MSP, like the Forensic Science Division and MSP wrote a public statement saying that the methods that they've been using to test whether for the presence of THC in blood samples were throwing out false positives.
Yep.
Okay. So what that means is someone gets in a car accident. Okay. And they're not visibly intoxicated,
No.
They are not drunk and they don't smell like weed. Maybe they
Right.
do. I don't know. They have a reason now. They're looking for a reason. They take these blood samples of someone and the the forensic science division gets it at the toxicology lab and they runs analysis, and what this is saying is there's a chance that CBD could have been being converted unknowingly into THC in these tests. So anyone can take, no, they admitted it. This isn't alleged. This isn't someone accusing MSP of doing it. The
this
MSP
is what they're saying in defense.
and it was a public confession, basically. They were like but they weren't really clear about like the details. Like, how could this happen? Right? How have your methods, which have been accredited,
allegedly, right. Yeah.
Like, yes, they are third party accredited for their all their methods. Why you how is this happening? Is this happening in the state? How long has CBD, any CBD supplement that you can buy at fucking Family Fair, how long has it been being accidentally turned into THC in these fucking police labs? And is it across the country? Are they, I'm assuming, are all going to their little science conventions and using the same methods, right? And like, so I'm wondering how many people might be in jail for like a fucking false positive.
Correct. So if, they go to test you for whatever reason, let's believe that you're operating while intoxicated, in OWI in this case, okay? But they don't see, you don't smell like weed. Oh, let's back up actually. The smell of weed in the state of Michigan does not give a probable cause to ask you about it or search your vehicle. Don't ever give them consent to do that. But anyways, moving on. They don't smell weed. They think that you're intoxicated, or they want to, allege that you're intoxicated at this point. They ask you to give a breathalyzer. Then they tell you that breathalyzer says that you're high. You see what I'm saying? That's not true. That cannot be, that's not how that happens, okay? But then they say that they can order a blood test, roadside. That doesn't exist either. That is a bullshit lie. Then they say they're going to bring in the dogs. Again, that is another lie, because dogs are only 80%. They're only 20% accurate most of the time. That's the problem, okay? It's been an 80 to 70% fail rate with dogs. So none of this is reliable thus far on their part, okay? So you're going to tell me...
They could be training them on terpenes too, and terpenes are found in all sorts of
everything.
Plants.
Everything. Plants, food, gum, everything.
Yeah, like they're just,
It's inaccurate. Okay, so it's not admissible as evidence, or it shouldn't be, but if you agree to it, you go, okay, I guess, then that's why they're doing it. Moving on, okay? Even if they take you to the emergency room and get a blood sample, there's no way in any blood test known to us right now to tell how high a person is just based off of their blood. And the reason they're saying this is because if you get alcohol in your system, you have a BAC, a blood alcohol content, and you stay within a certain limit, or you're driving over the influence, over the limit, you get the idea. Now, here's the problem. If you just rinse your mouth out with mouthwash real quick and spit out, so you're not drunk, you just took mouthwash, and you blow into one of those, it's like a mouth blow is what they call it, and you're going to blow 4 times the legal limit. That's how they fucking get you. But you were like, but I wasn't drunk. You know what I'm saying? These meters aren't right. These aren't accurate. You understand? They're not an accurate representation of alleged sobriety at these roadside, whatever instances. So once we understand that their shit's just not wildly accurate at all, and more to your point, they openly admit this is to be the case, then everybody that's got an OWI from cannabis for a certain, statute of limitations should be just the cases dropped against that. Why isn't it?
Yeah.
Money.
And I like how they
money.
What did they say? They come out and say how many people could be potentially impacted by it. It was maybe it it was like 2,000 people could be impacted by this. And I was like, that is a very
That's enough.
like claim. Like I'm like thinking hundreds.
Try 200,000. Yeah.
Across the state, how many, if they're all these labs are using the same methods, like why is this being thrown under the rug so easy? How is it being thrown under the rug so easily? And so these methods, and so people are like, well, how long have you been using these methods? Are they new methods? Or like science is supposed to kind of, keep up to.
Right.
It's okay for you to change methods as you learn new things. And they're like, we've been using these methods probably like someone I saw on the internet, someone said as long as like 20 years or like a couple of decades, right? Mm-hmm. So that is when Greg Michaud was a leader, like held a leadership role in the laboratory. So that if that's true, then he was employing those faulty methods. Again, involved in just bad science around cannabinoids and just like kind of
it's
doing
like
shoddy science that is resulting in the incarceration and further criminalization of people that consume cannabis, just regular people. Yeah. So this is like what it drives me crazy about the current situation with Virtus being like the only testing lab that seems to be dominating that market. Like when you can barely go into a dispensary these days and find products on the shelves that doesn't say tested by Virtus on the label. And why is that?
So why isn't that being looked at as a potential monopoly?
The reason why is because they have these special proprietary methods for potency. And this is why
they have the same methods?
This is why the CRA and Virtus are in a lawsuit right now. Like,
well, isn't the dude from so the dude from CRA, isn't it Brian Hanna?
Well, now it is.
Yeah.
So Brisboe before.
That's my point. So think about that.
I mean, I miss Brisboe. So I've been trying to tie this. I think so if you want to talk conspiracy, I mean, I really have no evidence to support this, but what I think kind of went down and kind of by the little fucking birdie that from Virtus is that like there was like kind of, I bet, some deals and whistleblowing shit type of going down between Virtus, MSP, and the Forensic Science Division and the CRA. Because, and like, think about it. They're suing over this recall, and then all of a sudden the MSP confesses willingly that the methods they've been using for a couple decades, like, why would they do that? And then Brisboe leaves. Why would he? He was really
just
great.
Randomly.
I thought the community really liked Brisboe.
Yeah, he had good community outreach.
He was like kind of advocating for a lot of like things that we thought were important.
And then just out of nowhere, he resigns.
Yeah. And so what I think is like in their uncovering of kind of Virtus, they found out the methods that they're using probably at that time, I don't know, weren't that great. That maybe triggered a red flag at MSP, and they looked into those methods and found, oh yeah, the methods are converting fucking CBD to THC. Because like that would enhance your potency, by the way. Like if you were testing for, if you're now retired and going to start a testing lab, wouldn't it be awfully convenient that you discovered in your previous job that the test you're using was accidentally converting CBD to THC?
It'd make you look good.
That would really, no, I mean, that would be a really great opportunity to then quit and then go into the cannabis market.
Mm-hmm.
to start doing THC testing because you have a fucking method that you know of that is enhancing fucking concentrations of THC artificially, right? Because you're converting CBD.
Oh, and if you're getting, better taste results allegedly, yeah.
The fucking flower,
It's going to convert.
Get THC in a tube while it's being tested. Potency. So, like, I'm not saying that that's what they did, although it is interesting that their proprietary method that they're currently in a lawsuit over with the state
is the exact same thing. Hang on. It's potency. There is an issue. Okay. And then notice that potency is also one of the marketing ways that they sell in dispensaries, because it's a myth. This is a myth that the higher the THC potency, the higher you get. That's not true. So now we're finding that because people like this, these old ex-Leos and MSPs and stuff, we're getting in trouble for these roadside tests and stuff like that. And it's the same way they're testing, and that leaks all the way to the dispensary, that none of that is true. Why aren't these people being held accountable?
When I say that they're ruining the industry, it's not because I just hate them.
That's the whole thing right there.
It is because their whole like proprietary THC potency testing methods is making it difficult for other labs to compete, even though it shouldn't be looked at that, in my opinion, that way, because you're supposed to be representing science. And if you want the community to have faith in science, like, you should really be peer reviewing shit. So this is what I mean. Virtus like is controlling the THC percentage. Basically, what you're seeing on those pretty fucking signs, at your convenient weed store is like just artificially inflated THC percentages.
Right.
And but don't get mad about it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Because we've already discussed THC percentage.
Everybody is different. Right.
Ensemble effect. It's the other cannabinoids are very important. We know this actually, if we want to get back to science for a second, because of Marinol. When the very first FDA approved synthetic THC compound came out, pharmaceutical company.
It was, I believe, a pain reducer or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought they were giving it, for cancer. What else?
Heavy surgeries, shit like that. Yeah, recovery.
Sorry, I was drawing a blank there, but
Marinol.
when you're just have THC alone, people are having like suicidal ideations, and I think there are other pretty negative side effects. But like, you need these other cannabinoids, like they're all there for a reason. And stop putting one on a pedestal with the other. And you're just being controlled by Virtus, these ex-cops that spent their former careers
putting people like that behind bars.
Fucking people in, incriminating the very people that they're claiming to be helping today.
Now, hang on a second. Let me.
And they've told me that, go ahead. No,
you're good. I was just going to finish the circle for people at home. Okay, so, sorry. So if these people spent their entire careers as ex-law enforcement officers, putting people behind bars for just even possessing cannabis and things of that nature, and then just so coincidentally retired of being an ex-Leo MSP officer, then became the person who was testing, and they're trying to cut people out of the market while selling people the highest potency, while saying that it's the potency in your blood that is convicting you. That sounds like a load of bullshit entrapment. That's what that sounds like. Okay. But the problem is, instead of taking the fucking, blame there and as they should absolve all these people for possession and for all their records and OWIs. Think about it. Some people have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to even get their license back because of a false fucking, piss test or a false fucking, blood test or whatever. Think about that. They could have smoked, taken a CBD gummy, driving home, been sober as fucking everything, and then slammed, and then boom, $10,000 or whatever, especially if they had priors, you know what I'm saying?
We're talking about kids getting taken away,
100%.
like
All of this just decimating
the people that get trapped in the system, that for a minor cannabis conviction, all of a sudden, things happen. And my dad's a felon, and I am aware of the things that can happen in prison that keep you in fucking prison.
Yeah. It's they don't care about solutions. Let's be honest. They care about perpetuating the system so that it profits them. That is the truth. All right. And so that's something going way back in the episode, reaching back about the militarization of police, the Patriot Act. Once that happens, now you can have cops just, and this is really, really extreme, but shoot people and not really fucking worry about it. How many times have we heard about that shit over something dumb, just something dumb, quote unquote routine, a traffic stop, which let's face it, none of those are routine. But anyway, is it routine to shoot somebody? Really? Are you fucking kidding me? But that's the point. They're taught to, very racially, I might add, shoot first and ask questions later. Okay, so if you have a person with that kind of mentality that goes through, the police course, even as a scientist, that's the people they report to. You understand? So you're going to tell me that they're just going to become legit right around the time that the market of cannabis starts? I don't fucking think so. I'm telling you that shit was planned.
Let me take this next level for you.
Sure.
So when the MSPFSD announced that their methods for testing THC in samples, in blood samples or serum samples, they had to outsource, right? Because they gotta keep feeding the system somehow, right? You can't just put all these people on hold.
No.
They need their blood tested. So, guess who got to do the work in the interim while the MSP was, developing better methods that didn't create false positives. It was Virtus.
Exactly.
I was told that they got that they were doing at least some of the work. So that is so fucked up to me.
I mean, it's like this.
They're the ones that created the bad methods.
Exactly. They have to have a problem to save you from.
And that,
it's a waste of tax dollars.
Yes, it is.
That's the truth of it. And honestly, it's extremely detrimental to the cannabis industry today. That's why you see so many commercial vehicles in traffic.
They like to say that they've changed, and it's not and I say, where is the evidence? I agree. People can change. You're allowed to do bad things and say I fucked up or I said something stupid. But I don't feel like upon following them the last few years, they've been involved in another racial discrimination lawsuit as early as the Black Lives Matter movement after George Floyd's death.
That's fucked up.
So the fact that tells me they haven't changed.
And that's the problem. So, the politician shouldn't, for a politician to come out and say, I'm a bad politician, that is one thing, okay? But what you don't understand is it doesn't matter what that politician thinks personally. If they're paid to vote one way or another, come on. I could make more money at my job. You know what I'm saying? That's the point. Everybody has a price. Theirs is just cheaper than you think.
They stand for nothing.
They'll fall for anything too, given the price. It's all about price, but here's the thing, there's long story short, we could sit here and continue down the rabbit holes that are conspiracy theories, and but I think that these people are just worried about a different color of green. In this case, how much money can we make? They're not worried about the science behind it. And once you've pushed science out for profit, you kind of lose me. You know what I'm saying? That's the truth. And they literally have put profits before patients here. When the entire backbone of the cannabis industry was built off the backs and patients of caregivers and patients, backs of caregivers and patients in the state of Michigan. And then when they were told, you're going to have a seat at the table, There wasn't one. They actively started hunting these people. So it's like, holy fucking shit, what are we gonna do? But then my question becomes this: what happens when it becomes federally legal?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The thing is, like, we were supposed to open up, and we had a great head start, didn't we? Like, we had all the time in the world that, like, to get a good
You were decades ahead of people.
foundation for small business owners. Like, that was the whole.
Yep.
It's important, like, legalize as at the state level as quickly as possible, so that your small businesses have time to be established. So when the flood of feds open up, like, they just don't get abolished.
Yep.
But instead we had like fucking an internal fucking hostile takeover.
It's fucked, man. It is. And that's my point. So like, and it doesn't just stop there. Like, and it's not just in Michigan, the fucked up part is, and it makes you question why we're even fighting still. But at the same time, we know what we're fighting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know any other way, and that's the truth. Like, I'm a card carrying member, I'm a card carrying patient. Like, I don't smoke because it's fun to do. It is fun, don't get me wrong. But like, it literally helps me with my day-to-day life. I medicate these things, it helps me stay on track for the most part. It helps me just get through my day. And I'm sorry that if I've got to add these things that were once illegal, that you don't really understand or have any knowledge behind, if it helps me, then it helps me. I mean, can we go back to the basic theory of pain versus pleasure? You know what I'm saying? At this concept, like, it's what irritates me, man. Like, how are you going to sit here and claim to be a professional about this? Not you, them. You know what I'm saying? When everything that you say is wrong, like, it's just not true. And then when you're called out and it's proven that you're wrong and stuff by real professionals and stuff, you go, oh, whoops. No, dude, you don't get a redo. Like, get the fuck off the goddamn swing now. You fucked up. You had your time. That's kind of the point. Like, you fucked it up. Now you got to fix the swing. Yeah, I've never really agreed with police officers, fucking period. I sure as shit am not going to agree with them just because they claim to smoke weed. And then the best part is, I'm hearing that a lot of these ex-Leos that are now in the cannabis industry used to be caregivers. That's not how that works. You heard about this, right? There's a lot of people in corporate cannabis, even including ex-Leo, ex-law enforcement officers who now work in cannabis, that claim to be caretakers and have been caretakers for, and I quote a few of them here. It was one guy said for the last, it was like 15 years. That's not possible. That's not possible. You know what I'm saying? So, there's a lot of snakes in the grass, quite literally. Some of them have fucking ties up to the goddamn, to the federal government even. They've worked alongside them. But like, the truth is, you just smoke weed, man. Like, it's not even like that big of a deal. Like,
right?
If it's working for you, it's working for you. If it makes your day better, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I love my cannabis, but at the end of the day, weed is weed to me.
Yeah.
I don't actually care if it is tested. Tested weed is better than not tested weed. But like, at the end of the day, I wish we had two markets where you could choose between tested weed and not. That should be our medical market.
Correct.
Tested weed at the medical market. And if you want, like, anyone should be able to access medical weed.
Mm-hmm.
If you want untested recreational weed, go for it. That's how it should have been, in my opinion, because
there's a state. So you're right. No, you're right.
Like, I have a lot higher hopes for fungi and medicinal mushrooms. So.
Well, I mean, California just shot it down.
Lessons. I did.
You hear about California?
Yeah.
I'm fucking not happy about that. They were right there.
It's bad. It's a bad look, given our own senator, our own Senate introduced a bill
for entheogens, right?
To decriminalize entheogens, just like 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, that's not really helpful for us at all.
No, because here's the thing: a lot of the things that we were doing cannabis-wise were following suit from what they were doing in California. So if they don't, pass it, then I don't think it's going to pass here either.
I think that what Newsom vetoed it, in fact.
Mhm.
Gavin, is that Newsom?
I don't remember his name.
He said he wanted more regulatory structure in place, which is what sucks, because that's what we're trying to really avoid. Is
Right.
when we say we're trying to learn our lessons from legalization of cannabis, that's what we mean. Like, we don't really want a regulatory framework. We want people to just like not go to jail for growing mushrooms. We want people to not have their kids taken away for growing mushrooms. So like that's kind of like decriminalization is kind of resisting legalization because of what we've seen the government do to cannabis, turning it into something it wasn't supposed to be.
You know, that's the unfortunate part. But no, Doc, I really appreciate you coming back on. You know, we need to really remain vigilant behind educating the public. I'm sure you agree on that. You know, remain vigilant about holding these people accountable, you know, for their fucking actions. Because if it was us, we would be, you know, made into martyrs. They would make us into an example. You know what I'm saying? And quite honestly, it's very clear that we're a lot more passionate about it than they are. You know, whether you have loved ones that suffer from something or you yourself do, you know, hopefully that you're able to find the way that you need. Again, if there's any comments, questions, or concerns about like what you're looking for or anything, hit us up. You know what I mean? We'll definitely do what we can to help you. But again, I want to thank, you know, Dr. Leslie Wyman for coming on and filling us in about what's going on behind the scenes, the shit that we don't fucking see, the shit we don't know about. But until next time, my tokers, jokers, and smokers, it's been another amazing episode. Thank you again for coming on. Of the Daily CHRONIClez, y'all. We'll catch you on the flip. Peace.
You see the light before the light becomes your enemy. Here, this is a warning. I'm not